Oh, really?
I have a bunch of KN95s.
Yeah.
And we keep them, we keep some of them.
But no, I had my office
Going
window
out to
open,
LA.
so
Yeah.
that was good at
Yeah.
least.
I told him.
Yeah.
I like my new office because it's got my old office across from Sparrow had just a window way up top.
Nice.
You had to get on a chair to even
That's
open
it.
it.
So you couldn't see out of it, obviously.
Well, the only thing I saw was the cancer center parking structure after they built it.
Is it from-
So there was no sky even anyway.
If
So
you ever anybody report they wouldn't be here today?
You know,
Andrea Coscarelli just emailed me. She was coming back from Ann Arbor and got caught in a traffic accident. She wasn't in the accident, but traffic backed up due to the
windows
accident.
used
So
to be
she
like a status symbol.
didn't think she'd be able to get here before 6:30.
corner office would
Told
have
her,
been-
well, we might be done by 6:30. And then Brenda said she might be late.
I'm here.
Oh, there you are. I'm sorry.
I kind
Sure.
of,
You used to be over there, yeah.
You're supposed to be late.
I know, I came out.
She was actually the first one.
So just Andrea then. And Mr. Kaltenbach, he's in Germany, I think. So.
Was it? Go for work in Germany for 2 weeks. And she was just. Passport was going to expire in 3 months.
But no, so my new office has got windows that I can actually reach. And open, and actually has the whole wall of them is basic, almost the whole wall is windows.
Oh, okay. So you got, now, is there a good view out the window?
My husband and I read.
There's some flowering trees that are pretty.
This time of year, yeah.
There's wildlife.
He changed.
Okay.
I haven't really seen the deer, but the squirrels, the turkeys,
Groundhogs? No,
there's a woodchuck,
okay.
but yeah, seniority has its privileges. Seniority has its privileges.
Yeah.
We've been vaccinated. Vaccinated.
You've been there a while.
32 years.
Double boosted, and I
Wow,
got so sick, I got
congratulations.
so sick this last time.
Only 4 more to go.
I got sick every day.
Okay,
So
is that
I'll wait for the one here.
the first eligibility for retirement?
Yeah.
Is a combination of age
But when
and
he got
years?
COVID,
Mhm.
about a month and a half.
Yeah, defined benefit plan. So
There you go.
I didn't get, and I don't know why.
You got defined benefits.
We went into the clinic.
That's part of the good old days system. Huh.
I was tested for 3 days.
But we didn't get into it till 2000. So
Oh, really?
Told them.
Um,
"Kiss me, Mom."
I started working there in
After 18 years.
89. Went full-time after I graduated in 93. But we didn't get into, because I work for a labor union, so we didn't get into the international's pension plan until 2000. So
Okay.
I lost
Oh.
years that I could have had.
Mm. Yeah, I was thinking about that time they were going the other direction.
Mhm.
Defined
See the site.
contribution.
I did.
Yep.
Okay.
Well, that's what we went from. We had it, we had it
Oh,
forward,
really?
and
Yes,
then
it
we
is.
got into the international's pension plan, so.
Oh, that's unusual.
Yeah.
That happened, yeah. Yeah, state retiree, and I had the defined benefits.
Mhm.
Which I certainly appreciate now.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's why we're losing people, because like we wanted to get in and we didn't have it at the time. So,
Okay, so that was tough to deal with your competition without it.
well, in labor relations, I mean, you go back and forth. I mean, it's not. Because a lot of them,
Oh, this was
being
the
arbitrator, you
there.
have to have 10 years of management and 10 years of union experience.
Okay,
She was in,
There's a lot of going back and forth, so people can be arbitrators
okay.
or mediators.
went back to school.
Oh, she's got her teaching perfect.
That was years and years ago.
What is she?
I was a state employee, well, a student co-op in high school.
I thought they
Office of
had
the state
their
employer.
schools there.
Oh, with the office of the state. Okay,
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
I'm not
That
sure.
was my high school job.
Not sure. Puts as much.
Yeah, I didn't get into.
Maybe.
Am I thinking of Mason?
Yeah, I was out of high
thought
school
so.
when I got
A Mason,
my first
that's,
I mean, it's just a.
state job.
Township is also not here. Okay.
I don't remember what
that's
it
in
was.
Germany. Altenberg is in
Oh.
Germany. And that's
It's
what,
a highway.
Well, shall we start?
sure.
It's, approximately 6:03, call the meeting of the zoning board of appeals to order. Stand to join me in the pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, Mr. Arkin, that's me. Here. Cuscarella, not here yet. Mr. Hicks. Here. Mr. McConnell,
Present.
Mr. Castleback absent. Ms. Parr,
Here,
Ms. Frizell,
Here,
Mr. Corey.
Here.
Okay, we have, next item on the agenda is approval of the agenda. Would entertain a motion.
I
Mr.
go.
Chair, I move approval. Go ahead, Sue.
No, go for
It
it.
doesn't matter. Mr. Chair, I move approval of the agenda as presented.
Support.
All right, motion on the floor to approve and has support. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Hearing none, agenda is approved. Are there any citizen comments for items not on the agenda? Mr. Davis, this is your chance to talk about anything other than what you came here about. I guess. Moving on. Correspondence. Gary, did we get any correspondence in response to your solicitations on this variance?
None.
All right. And let's see, approval of minutes from the last meeting. We met on April 12th. And my only observation about the minutes from that meeting is that they are missing the election of officers section. So with that, restoration recommended, I would entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing no nays, minutes are approved. Amen. Okay, before we open the public hearing, we do have before us case number V-22-3-28. Seeking two variances from the Delta Township zoning ordinance for a parcel on Eda Drive, which I didn't know that street existed before this. And Gary, can you give a brief overview and introduction of this?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I can do that. Let me pull up the aerial photo so we can talk about the location. So Ena Drive is a north-south running road extending from Rickle Drive to the north. It terminates at, and there's a Verizon cell phone cellular tower, lattice type tower at the existing terminus. Mr. Davis owns property on both sides of Ena Drive. And you have some existing businesses, Yazaki in this location, Liquid Web and Munters. The proposed project Mr. Davis would like to start is on what is now part of the Yazaki parcel. So he'll need a land division to create a parcel. I'm guessing it's probably 4 or just under 4 acres in size. And what's proposed is a 39,000 square foot building with associated parking. The zoning ordinance, and that's section 10.02 D1, indicates that industrial parcels must be served by a public road. All of these projects that were built in the past assumed Enid would be public. And I think at one time, I think the project was, the construction on Enid started 20 years ago. And at that time, as part of the site plan approval, and then continue on, it was expected that the road become public, but it hasn't yet to be turned over. So there's a problem with continuing on. This would probably be the last project Mr. Davis can build on Enid Drive, and we need the road to be public as per the past approvals and per current ordinances. So he is working with the Eaton County Road Commission to reconstruct the road and make it public. I should note that there's a small segment of Enid Drive, this area here, that's in the Delta Industrial Park subdivision. It's an outlot. It was intended to be a continuation of the road off of Rickle, an extension of Enid Drive. We own that, the township does. And so when it's reconstructed and the road commission is ready to accept it, we will deed that over to the road commission, the township will. So then it'll be public from basically Rickle to the north. And then there's a cul-de-sac that's proposed. The Eaton County Road Commission needs a turnaround for basically its maintenance and vehicles and snowplow. So Mr. Davis is going to construct a cul-de-sac to those standards. So the first part of it is that he would like to get started on his construction project prior to the road being reconstructed and turned over to the road commission. He'd like permission to begin footing and foundation. Second variance, and let me pull up the illustration that shows that. So here's the end of the cul-de-sac. Mr. Davis, and it's in front of your places tonight, provided a nice drawing that kind of illustrates what's going on. So the black outline is where the cul-de-sac was first proposed by the engineers. And he would like the ability to tilt it, this is south in this direction, tilt it in a southerly direction, which brings it closer to the existing Yazaki building. And being zoned industrial, there's a 75-foot front setback from road rights of way. So there'll be a right-of-way created and dedicated to the road commission for Enid Drive and the cul-de-sac. And by tilting it under construction, that'll bring the right-of-way line a distance of 50 feet to the existing Yazaki building. So it shows initially this required 75-foot setback, but the variance is being requested to tilt the cul-de-sac. Mr. Davis indicates that he would like to do that to provide more parking in front of the new building he wishes to construct. So the sketch plan shows the building, again, kind of hugging the northerly property line of the parcel that needs to be created. So he would like some more space in this area for trucks and such for his new tenant. So that's it in a nutshell. And if I'll entertain any questions that the board may have.
Mr. Chair, for you, Jeff.
Gary, does the, I assume it does, but does the lot support the required parking without the variance?
Well, without the variance, well, yeah, everything that's there already existing is built to the proper standards. And then the proposed building, it's a combination of employee and truck parking, and industrial parking. It's based on number of employees. I don't know who the tenant is yet. So I don't have an employee count, so I can't answer that question right now. He will have to go through a site plan review process where that'll be discussed.
Fair enough, thanks.
Anybody else have a question for Gary? I got a couple. Gary, does the reduction in setback from 75 to 50 make the Yazaki building a non-conforming use?
It's not a non-conforming use. The structure would become non-conforming.
Non-conforming structure.
Yes.
Are they aware of that?
I don't know. They got a notice for the variance request, so in that sense, they know that something's being requested that impacts them. But again, no comments have been received from any of the businesses in the area.
Excuse me, one other question. Do we have a high level of confidence that the road commission is indeed going to take this?
Well, I've had long conversations with Mr. Davis, long conversations with his civil engineers, Kev's, long conversations with the road commission. So I think they're finally all on the same page as to what needs to be done. Now it's just a matter of making it happen. So the road commission has indicated what they need to have done, and plans have been prepared, and it's just a matter of executing.
Okay. Before I ask for a motion to open the public hearing, are there any final questions for Gary? Comments from board members? Hearing none, we're going to entertain a motion to open the public hearing for case number V-22-3-28.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and supported by Supar. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Hearing none. You're in the public hearing. Let's flip to the right page here. Mr. Davis, welcome. Would you care to come to the podium and introduce your project, your variance request, speaking to the points in the ordinance that I showed you earlier, and before you begin, state your name and address for the record, please.
It looks through this list that I meet the requirements for variance. I don't think I'm opposed or anything that's listed here.
Yeah. For our transcription, for the minutes, could you just state your name and address for the record?
You want me to address one by one, you mean?
Just need your name and address for the record.
First, for the record.
Your name and your address, just so it's on the transcript.
I'm Mike Davis. I'm the owner and developer of this property. My office is 5236 Dumont Court, Delta Township.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Davis. Please proceed to address the points in that are here in yellow that Gary provided you earlier. So we need to evaluate your petition against these criteria here. And this is your chance to help and guide us in doing that.
Are we addressing the first variance or the second one?
Good question. Why don't we address the first one?
I think the first one was allowing a permit. Yeah. Working with a prospective tenant for a building on that parcel. And when you do that, you have to sign a lease. And they don't want occupancy until January 1st. But I still got to commit to that lease before I can build the building. And the problem I'm having today is getting materials. The switchgear, for instance, the switchgear for getting power into the site is 6 to 8 months out. Steel joists, same problem. So what I've asked Gary is if I could get a permit, even though we want that road as bad as the township does. I don't want to be on a private road with my development. But working through my engineers with the county, there's been a lot of variables, I should say, that we had to address to get the county road commission happy. We're almost there on everything. Not happy with all of it. I don't like the way they've made me put the cul-de-sac off to the side. It's a dead-end road. I tried to argue with them that trucks backing in and out on a dead-end road is not an issue, but they don't want to give in to that point. So we had to move the cul-de-sac into that one property to satisfy their wants. In doing that, it tightens up the sites for the tenant that's looking at that parcel. It tightens it up to where his trucks have a hard time backing into the truck docks. So that's why we've asked for that extra 25 feet of variance.
But with with regard to the first variance, we're just talking about the commencement of footing and foundations for a new building prior to Eva Drive being constructed to road commission standards. And I understand your business needs for it. They're reasonable, but what I need to find out is what is unique about this property that requires you to be able to do footings and no,
The need to put the foundation.
footings and foundations early.
Yeah, that need is just to help me get ordering on everything that in case the road commission takes longer to approve this than what I anticipate. It protects the county or the township because I can only go so far with the building, which is just foundations. So I'm not asking for anything that would hurt or be out of line in my view to the township. But it would help me get a jump on the construction and get things ordered if the road commission holds me up with approvals. I don't anticipate a lot of that. I think my engineers are working through most of the issues with the road commission. I think we're going to be all right. But it does give me some peace of mind knowing that I can get started if I need to and get at least the foundations in.
So would you say that your property is unfairly burdened by the fact that the road was supposed to be a road commission road all these years and never really was?
Yeah, I don't see where I'm out of line with any of your variance requirements here.
You may not be, but we have to go through the motions of establishing that for the record. Let's move on to the second one, if you might. So the second criteria is that the variance would not cause a substantial adverse impact on properties in the immediate vicinity of the subject parcel or be contrary to the public interest. Now, the first variance, you're just putting in your footings and foundations early. I assume you're arguing that it will not cause a substantial adverse impact on anybody next to you to let that happen.
Yeah,
Correct. Okay. Number three, that the need for the variance is not self-created. So you're asking for this variance to construct early because the road isn't there. Well, the road not being to road commission specs is not your fault, as far as I know.
I think the township wants that road as bad as I do. We want to get the road in. That's a priority. So.
The next item is item 4, that the variance is not contrary to the purposes of this ordinance. I always have trouble struggling with how to apply that in cases like this, but you coming to us asking for the variance is not contrary to the purpose of the ordinance. It's the point of the ordinance, as I understand it. The point of the variance process. Item number 5, that no conforming use of neighboring lands, structures or buildings in the same district and no permitted use of lands, structures or buildings in other districts shall be considered grounds for the issuance of a variance. So what this is saying is that just because there's somebody else in the neighborhood that has a non-conforming use doesn't mean you get one. And that's not what you're arguing, I don't think. So there is no non-conforming use that you're citing as evidence for yours. So we also have to find that one of the following 2 items under C are also true. And item number 1 is where there are practical difficulties preventing an applicant from strict compliance with the restrictions governing area setbacks, frontage, height, bulk, or density, which would unreasonably prevent the applicant from using the property for a permitted purpose, or would render conformity with such regulations unnecessarily burdensome. What that means is there's some inherent feature about your property that prevents you from complying with the ordinance. Item number 2, the granting of a variance would do substantial justice to the applicant as well as to other property owners in the district, or whether a lesser relaxation than what that applied would give substantial relief to the applicant and be more consistent with justice to other property owners. Personally, I think number 2 is your best bet. But other board members may have a different view. Number 2 is saying that the granting of the variance would advance the fair use of the property and be in the public interest. Do any other board members have any comments or questions or concerns about my synopsis of the points for Mr. Davis?
I thought possibly, and the special stipulation, that 1 and 3, because he's met all
Oh, yeah, I
the
forgot through 2 of
5
them.
of them, but that was just my,
Yep. Number 3 is that the plight of the applicant is due to unique circumstances of the property and not to general conditions in the area. Number 4 is that the variance observes the spirit of the ordinance, secures public safety, and does substantial justice. I could be swayed on either of those.
are we dealing with the 2 of them separately? 2 variances?
Yes. Any questions, comments from board members on that? All right.
Mr. Chairman, I'm prepared to make a motion. Or do we have to close the public hearing first?
No, I think we'll keep it open because we got to handle the other.
Yep.
Right. Okay.
Keep it open. to answer the
If I
others.
can interject just before you do that, so we got to make sure that, it's clear that Mr. Davis can commence footing and foundations, but after that work is done, the road
It's-
needs to be.
Right,
in
I was
place.
going to stipulate that. I know I have 2 things circled in here.
Thank you.
You think we should vote on the first one before we analyze the second one?
I think you can handle them that way, yeah.
The board members think you want to do that? Vote on the first one before we.
Yeah, I think
that's fine.
that, they're not.
And they're not totally.
Okay.
In case number B-22-3-28, the first variance from section 10.02D, one of the Delta Township zoning ordinance is amended, which requires industrial zoning. He has met all the criteria for the first, the regular conditions, and number 1 and 3 of the special conditions. And also stipulating that until the road is designated as Eaton County Road Commission as I can't even think of the word,
Accepted as a public road.
accepted as a public road, that he can only put in the footings in the foundation and in a drive before becoming public.
I believe we. Do you want to add to that, there needs to be a property split?
Well, I know that, but I don't, which, is that going to be a number 2? Or is that
I
number
noted
1?
that in the staff report. I
I
don't know
have
if you
that.
need to make it as a condition. He's still has to go through site plan review and it'll be stipulated then. But
It's all one parcel now, right?
yeah, it's all one person. So we'll have-
Which includes a portion of the existing building.
Correct.
Mhm.
So I would suggest adding it as a stipulation because otherwise it's going to attach to the ordinance. The variance is going to attach to the land as a whole. So
Yes.
I don't know if you want to make that a condition precedent that it's split, Gary, or.
it won't hurt anything.
Okay.
It's gonna happen, but
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
you could,
you're entitled to the split, so
Right.
as long as you fill out the form.
Sure. And then stipulation number 2 would be, it should be noted that a land division is required for this project. The intended site is currently a part of the Yazaki facility out to the south, and it should be stipulated the land division be executed with the township prior to commencement of any building activity.
Everybody get that? Okay. So there is a motion on the floor.
I'll support the motion.
Motion on the floor that has support from Mr. Hicks, made by Sue Parr. Roll call vote on that, I guess. Okay. Mr. Arking, aye. Ms. Coscarelli not here. Mr. Hicks.
Aye.
Mr. McConnell. Support. Ms. Parr.
Support.
Ms. Frizell.
Support.
Mr. Corey.
Yes.
The motion has passed. Let's catch up paperwork here. Okay, let's do the same thing with the second one. This is a variance again to change the setback distance from 75 feet to 50 feet on the south side towards the, what do you pronounce that? Yakuza building? Yazaki building. Variance of 25 feet from the requested somebody. 75 feet is requested to allow an existing building that is accessed by Ena Drive to maintain a setback of 50 feet from a new right of way being established for the construction of Ena Drive, which is to become a public road. Okay. So Mr. Davis, again, we've got to run through these criteria for granting a variance. For the second one, the same criteria. So you have to meet all of the 5 criteria in B again, so that the variance request is due to unique circumstances peculiar to the property and not to the general neighborhood conditions. Can you speak to that?
Yeah.
Mr. Arking,
Yes, Ms. Frizell.
could you have him articulate?
Yep, I was just going to do that. Yeah, I need you to expound on that. Why is the what are the unique circumstances that require you to have the setback?
Well, it's the tenant that for the building that's proposed there would like more room to move his trucks into the loading docks. If we can move that 25 foot over, it gives him more room to maneuver at that site. So we're trying to accommodate the use of that. When you look at that design on your sheet there, the road is still a long ways from that building. I've talked to Yazaki, they don't have any issues with it, they don't care, so it isn't harming, I don't see where it has any effect on them or the neighborhood. What we're asking for. And the cul-de-sac, honestly, is for turnaround of vehicles, and I doubt you're gonna see that cul-de-sac is going into a site that the trucks are gonna go straight in. They're not gonna be going around in that cul-de-sac. They're gonna go straight into that site that, because of the unique design of where the cul-de-sac is, it's into the site. As you can see, if you can see the outline of the existing cul-de-sac, that's what I would have preferred to have, but the county road commission won't let us do that because they're saying that Munters is not allowed to let their trucks use that cul-de-sac to back into their loading docks. So therefore, even though it's a dead end street, we had to modify that cul-de-sac and move it into this lot. But it makes a unique situation. Doesn't harm anybody, isn't a great design in my opinion, but if we're gonna please the county road commission, it's gonna have to be that way.
So maybe you can help us help you. Can you maybe speak to some of the, I think you hinted at it already, speak to some of the safety issues relative to the use of the site and the parking of the trailers that would potentially be helped by that additional 25 feet?
Yeah, the 25 feet really is wasted ground. There's not gonna be anything parking in there. That's gonna be grass area. As you can see on the site plan, there's no parking in that area at all.
So I guess what I'm getting at is the rationale or the impetus behind your request to curve that cul-de-sac down. The reason for that is because your prospective tenant has requested additional area on the site, presumably for the benefit of their tractor trailers or whatever else they're moving around.
That's what I would understand, yeah.
Okay. How did they express that to you in terms of what benefit does that give to them? Does it create safer turning radiuses? Is it just a convenience factor, or what was it that they told you was the reason for that?
That's pretty much what they said. They need more radius to move their trucks in to back into those loading docks. And the county road commission is not going to let them use that cul-de-sac again. They don't want their trucks pulling out into that cul-de-sac. So they've got to maneuver those trucks inside that property without it being in the cul-de-sac.
And shifting it, if you were to obtain a variance, shifting it gives them an additional 25 feet to do so on site, correct?
Yeah, all right.
The cul-de-sac is public, right? It's part of the public road.
It'll be, yeah.
It will be,
yeah.
The entirety of Enid Drive, including the cul-de-sac, will be public, yes.
So as a public road, the company across the street, Munters, they would be able to use it just like anybody else.
They can, but the road commission has a standard that you cannot use a public road as a staging area essentially to align their trucks with the loading dock and then back into them. So all the maneuvering of the tractor trailers has to occur on site, not in the public roadway.
I guess that makes sense. I never thought about that. I guess it makes sense.
Okay.
Let's move on to criteria number 2. Board members are satisfied with that so far. The variance would not cause a substantial adverse effect on properties in the immediate vicinity of the subject parcel or be contrary to the public interest. This is where I have a bit of a concern because the building to the south owned by somebody else is going to suddenly become a non-conforming building. And while they didn't comment on it, that's a substantial adverse effect possibly. So can you tell me what the people there, I can't ever remember this name. Yazaki, what the Yazaki people told you, how they felt about this?
I addressed it with them, and my main concern was bringing the road in on that angle, not the cul-de-sac. They didn't have any problem with that either. So I've gone over that whole plan with them because it does cut off. The way the engineers brought that road in, it's cut back on their frontage a little bit, which is that's not requiring any variance, but I wanted to talk it over with them. And they have no problem with either one. It's gonna be a green area, and that's green area they butt up to now, so really doesn't have any effect.
Item number 3, that the need for the variance is not self-created. And again, Mr. Davis, I'm going to give you wide leeway on this, but I mean, this seems self-created to me. Tell me why it isn't.
I'm sorry, I don't understand.
The ordinance wants to know that the reason you're asking for this variance is that you didn't create the reason for it. You didn't generate the reason for it. You have an opportunity to put a cul-de-sac in place on the property that now there's a more convenient and possibly safer one. I'm making your argument for you, I guess, but this isn't something, the need for this isn't something you created yourself. This is a need inherent with the property, not something you did, is what the ordinance wants to know.
Well, the need is to try and make things more efficient for the prospective user of that property. If you can say that's self, I guess it is, but I don't see where it harms anyone else, no neighbors. I own all the properties that touch onto it.
Next criteria is that the variance is not contrary to the purposes of the ordinance. I don't have any thoughts on this particular one for this application, unless other board members have one. Have any thoughts on it? Mr. Davis, do you have any other thoughts on item number 4, that the variance is not contrary to the purpose of the ordinance? Otherwise, I'll move on to 5. Number 5 is that no non-conforming use of neighboring land, structures, or buildings in the same district and no permitted use of land, structures, or buildings in other districts shall be considered grounds for the issuance of a variance. So this is again saying just because somebody else got something doesn't mean you get it.
Yeah, I don't think the applicant's making that assertion.
No, I don't think it's either, but I just wanted to get it right. All right, so the next section is C. You have to meet one of the 5 criteria there, 4 criteria there. Practical difficulties preventing an applicant from strict compliance with the restrictions governing area setbacks, frontage, height, bulk, or density, which would unreasonably prevent the applicant from using the property for permitted purpose or would render conformity with such regulation unnecessarily burdensome. 2, that the granting of a variance would do substantial justice to the applicant as well as other property owners in the district, or whether a lesser relaxation than that applied for would give substantial relief to the applicant and be more consistent with justice to the other property owners. Number 3, that the plight of the applicant is due to the unique circumstances of the property and not to general conditions in the area. Number 4, that the variance observes the spirit of the ordinance, secures public safety, and does substantial justice. You have to hang your hat on one of those as a justification for this application, for this variance. I think there's cases to be made for a few of them. Set that aside for a minute. All right, so we reviewed this variance granting criteria. Do you have any other thoughts on support, thoughts in support of your variance along these lines that you want to share with us now?
You mean, is there more I can add to
Sure. Anything you haven't already said yet that you want on the, to speak to any of these points? Because I know I ran through them kind of quick, and I just want to make sure that I give you a full opportunity to speak to any of these points that you didn't get.
Well, I'm not sure I know the spirit of the ordinance, but it doesn't cause any public safety issues, what we're asking for, that I can see. Doesn't hurt the neighbors. All we're doing is moving 25 feet closer to a warehouse building that there's no activity other than down on the other end, there's loading docks and nothing in that area. So it really has no effect to the neighbors on either side. It's like a non-issue, but I can't answer to the spirit of the ordinance exactly. You're probably better at that than I am.
Are there any board member questions for the applicant? Board member comments, just Jeff.
Just move, close the public portion of the
Yeah.
meeting.
Motion on the floor to close the public portion of the hearing. There's a second.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Being done, public portion is closed. You can sit down if you wish.
Well, thank you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair?
Yeah.
I can help you with the issue relative to the creation of the non-conforming parcel. This is a unique situation because the parcel is owned by the applicant. After the split, the parcels will still be owned by the applicant. If the applicant wants to create a non-conformity relative to his own property and he meets the criteria, I don't know that we're in necessarily a position to object to it. It's not another, when we say, did we receive any correspondence? The tenant doesn't care. The tenant's not going to send in a letter saying, I don't own this property, but over my dead body, I want this denied. It does have a potential effect on Mr. Davis if he wants to. What's the current setback?
75. Well,
I mean, how far is it back?
right now?
Yeah.
Well, because it's all one parcel, they're way far away from that.
Yeah, so it does tie his hands with respect to if you wanted to expand the size of the building, but again, that's his prerogative. So I just want to make sure we don't get too hung up on forgetting that it's not a third party who just either missed the public hearing notice or didn't know enough about it to come in and object. It's a bit of a rare circumstance for us.
So I guess I was operating under the misinformation that they were separately owned. Izaki Corporation owns the subject parcel.
Mr. Davis owns the parcel and
Yeah,
he's the
there's-
applicant.
Mr. Davis is different entities.
Oh, Izaki is one of Mr. Davis's
Well,
entities. is
no,
it?
They're a tenant.
owners, so there's different ownership entities, all controlled by Mr. Davis.
It's an industrial park. They're just Izaki's just a tenant of yours, correct?
I'm sorry?
Izaki is just a tenant of yours, correct? Okay.
All right, that was not clear to
Same
me.
with Munter.
That was not clear to me. I thought they were separate. Okay, thank you. That didn't come out in the notes. So
Make a motion.
Yeah, I'm prepared to make a motion unless there's additional board comments or questions.
are there additional board comments or questions? Jeff, make a motion.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chair. Let's see, with respect to variance request number 2 for case number V-22-3-28. The applicant is seeking a variance of 25 feet from the current required 75-foot setback, which will result in a 50-foot setback for the parcel. Applicant has satisfied the conditions set forth in section 15.04B. Specifically as enumerated in the board packet 1 through 5. With respect to one of the following additional requirements. The applicant has satisfied criteria number 1 with respect to practical difficulties. This is a very unique and interesting case in so much that the parcel that's currently owned by the applicant is being forced to give up property rights in order to accommodate a cul-de-sac that presently already exists, but for the reasons enumerated on the record, is not sufficient for the County Road Commission to accept the public dedication. The shift in the existing to the new location will provide for additional turning radius on site, thereby satisfying certain safety requirements of the intended use for the property. And therefore, given all of that, I would move to approve the variance as requested.
Support.
Motion made by Jeff Hicks, supported by Sue Parr. Roll call vote on this too.
You need any kind of stipulation or anything, Gary?
Not for this.
Yeah, I was just checking for that, but it didn't seem like it. Mr. Arking. Aye. Mr. Hicks.
Aye.
Mr. McConnell. Support. Ms. Parr.
Support.
Ms. Frizzell.
Support.
Mr. Corey.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Mr. Davis, you get your variance requests. Let's get the site plan in and start working on that so we can get you going.
I appreciate your time and time.
You bet. Good luck to you on your project.
Hey, good luck. Thank you.
Thank you.
You bet. Well, you just have to look at the, if you look at the application itself, it's always good to look where it distinguishes the applicant from the owner. And in this instance, the applicant is the owner. And since we know that the property is not yet split, we know that the property is owned as a whole by the applicant.
I think Gary mentioned it too, but there was
Yeah.
just,
In passing of it.
Yeah.
That's a lot
he
of
didn't
fun.
completely miss it. It's just,
Well, we have to finish up the agenda.
Yeah, he's been before us before. He knows.
Oh, you know,
He doesn't.
he owns a lot of property out here.
In fact, I think last time he was before us, he didn't get his variance over on the west side. And I didn't want to put the green belt in.
So we're done
In
with
that
that.
building, that we put in 3 different sections or something where.
Item 9, old business, I see we have none. Item 10, other business, I see we have none. Item 11, staff comments. Gary?
Couple of things. Planning Commission met yesterday. They reviewed a request for a special land use permit for a tire store going into where the Dollar General store is on Saginaw Highway. I think it's 4359 West Saginaw. Recommended approval of that. They're using about half the building there. So I think it's like a 3 or 4 tenant building now. They're going to take the space that was occupied by Dollar General, and they haven't indicated who the remaining tenants are. They don't own the building. They're going to be leasing it. They're Horans who built Tropical Smoothie, and those they own that building. And so they'll be nice because they're going to bring the site up to current standards in terms of landscaping and all that kind of stuff. It's in the overlay district for Saginaw Highway. That's that area between Waverly and Elmwood. So things are happening on the corridor, which is nice.
We need another tire store, just like another.
Well, I
mattress
asked that
store.
question. I don't know who does their market studies, and I counted, what, 6 already in the township. That includes the BJ's who sells tires, and Walmart that sells tires, and Firestone and Goodyear and Belt Tire and Discount Tire and.
I know.
Closest to
Again, I mean,
I know, that and mattress.
We'll take
I
it
also-
as an
Yeah.
and every time I go to one of them, I have to wait. So
Yeah,
apparently-
absolutely.
Apparently there is a need. The other special land use permit request that the planning commission considered was for another mini warehouse development. We talked about that here at your last meeting, and so the planning commission did recommend approval of that special land use permit. Both those will go to the board next Monday for a final decision. And beyond that, I'll answer any questions if you're curious about anything going on.
Glad to see that they're doing something with the Dollar General over there. I live over right there. I live on Harriet, so I'd rather see buildings filled than vacant.
That's true. But they allow them to have that storage facility that they're going to put into a storage facility. Is that Mull Drive?
Yes,
Small Drive, yeah. I think that's too bad. But
yeah, Elmwood and Malt Drive.
Yeah.
It's the old AMC
yeah,
theater,
right.
that zone. That zone is moving to the Yonkers building in Lansing Mall. They've purchased actually the, Lansing Mall is weird because there's 20 different parcels make up what we call the Lansing Mall. And so that zone is buying one of the 20 that encompasses Yonkers. He's expanding his operation. He's also, I think, looking for a liquor license, which he doesn't have now, so. And he's doing this, I guess he's in an expansion mode because there are several ZAP zones throughout the state and he's expanding all of them, so.
I'm not sure I want to see liquor in the restaurant. Hey, are they home?
Board comments. Adjournment, anybody?
I will make a motion to adjourn.
Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
Adjourn.
My husband.
Sure.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
The thing is like,
9:74.
so liquor, when you